Hey guys, Jeffries here and welcome back to Cities in Motion 2. Now today we are over at... what's going on here? No idea. We are over here at the beginning of the Centurion line. The train has made its first stop. It didn't pick up any passengers. So far I'm not too worried about that because I think the terminus stations are always the ones that take a little bit longer to actually pick up passengers to start with, because people need to realise that that is actually a viable way of getting to and from. Plus, in this circumstance, Buckingham Palace is the terminus of the line. Passengers may only be heading to Buckingham Palace at this stage. They don't want to head back from it. It's only when they start wanting to head back that it might actually become a viable way of travelling. So until that stage, I'm not too worried. Once it gets to a loop though, and there's no one waiting there still, considering its connections to Hublink 2, the bus line, the City Auto line, and the two monorail stations, if no one's waiting with those connections, then I might start worrying. But until then, we should be okay. I'm going to put this in slightly fast forward mode, just to make sure that we definitely don't spend too long on this. This is all we're going to do in today's episode, so if you're not that really interested in watching the trains go round, then skip forward to Friday's episode, where hopefully there'll be another big build if I remember to actually do it. But this episode is just... I haven't done this in a while actually. I haven't done an episode that's purely devoted to just watching a line in operation. And I think that I should do that a little bit more often, because at the end of the day, it's all well and good building these lines. But if you don't sit back and just watch them operate, then you don't really know whether they're successful or not, do you? So I always think of it as being quite a good idea now, just to sit down, take some time, and actually watch what you've built, just to make sure that everything is working properly. Especially in city skylines, because there's a thing in that now that I've learned, where you build a new road, and it could take anything up to 10 minutes before you start noticing that it's made a difference. And if you weren't to sit there and wait that long, you just carry on building and building and building, and you could end up messing things up. So sometimes it's good just to take your time, sit down, grab yourself a biscuit and a cup of tea, whatever it might be. Just sit down and watch it progress and see for yourself whether it actually needs improving. If after, say, half an hour things aren't looking brilliant, then you might have to make some small tweaks. But I've definitely noticed in this series and in City Skylines that sometimes I do sort of jump the gun a bit and try and make changes way too early, and end up making things worse because of that. Here, for example, these stations haven't got anybody waiting, and at this point, normally I'd start panicking and start actually taking stations out and making adjustments and things like that. Today, I'm not going to worry, because we haven't even reached the main part of the line yet. There's still a good 2 or 3 stations before we get to the parts where I actually expect passengers to already be waiting for a train. These stations, you're probably going to have 1 or 2 every trip getting on and off, and that I'm okay with. I've learned to accept that. That's not a big deal. Here already you see there's people waiting. Not many, only one person, and he's not happy, or she's not happy I should say, because they've had to wait so long for a train. And that's fine. Again, you expect that in a first run. It's probably not even advisable to watch the first train going on its journey. You're probably better off watching maybe the 5th or the 6th train. So you can actually see it in full swing and fully operating. Then you can start passing judgment on whether it's a success or not. But the first train is always going to be the worst train, I should say, because they've had to wait so long for a train. And that's fine. Again, you expect that in a first run. It's probably not even advisable to watch the first train. I recommend just leave it be. We lost a passenger there and we gained a passenger. And that's fine, because even at this stage, I'm not too worried about that. There are still passengers slowly making their way down to the platform level, but this line is still new. And that's what's important. It's still new. Don't fret and don't panic. If after, I don't know, 3 days of it being built, still not really happening, then you, again, start making tweaks. But right now, stay cool. It's not a problem at all. Right, so we're on the only real overground section of this line now. And it's just this little bit here to get it along the metro tracks. Now I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. I was worried about it before I started recording Monday's episode. I wasn't fully convinced that it was actually going to look okay once it was built, mainly because I wasn't sure I'd be able to get 4 tracks through that narrow gap between the 2 freeways, and I also wasn't convinced about this little bit that we've got here. So I'm happy that it's actually managed to sort itself out. And as you can see, houses have sprung up along this street, all three of the streets that I built for this station, and passengers are starting to wait for a train. And this is where you start to realise that actually this is a viable line. Every single line in my city has this problem where there's stops with nobody waiting and there's stops with hundreds of people waiting. If you look at the City Auto line that we're just about to pass underneath, that stop there is also incredibly popular. The one we're just about to pass underneath now, 200 people waiting to head east. Crazy number, absolutely crazy. And yet the next stop might not have anybody waiting. So it really is a hit and miss as to whether it's going to be popular or not. Sometimes you just have to accept it. As it happens for now though, we have 2 people on board travelling under the river with us. We'll start picking up more and more and more as we go through this trunk route. I'm not convinced there'll be people waiting at the next stop, but again, I'm okay with that because it's a major interchange. Normally people will be getting off rather than getting on. There might be some people who want to head slightly north, 1 or 2 stops, and yeah, they'll get on board. But mostly people get off these trains at these massive interchange stops. So I will be slightly surprised if there's a huge clump of people waiting to get on board. We'll find out in just a short second anyway how many people there are. 0. See? I was kind of right. I do still get a slight tinge of disappointment, but it is what I expect. So I'm not too disheartened by it. And I imagine these 2 passengers here will also hop off at this point. So they can get on either a faster train or a train heading in a different direction. Yep, they've both hopped off as well. That's fine, not a problem. These metro trains are going to shoot past us constantly as we're going up here, so I'm not too bothered. Next stop, we've got 23 people waiting. Now this is where this train is going to start making money for us, because all of these people, the only option they've got at these stations is to get on a tram to head north or south. And it's only when we get to the next major interchange, which is actually the metro hub, that they'll actually hop off and get onto a metro train to go up faster. For now though, the only option they have is the tram. And again, we've got 45 people waiting at this next station, so we're starting to fill up quite nicely. We've got some weird slopes going on here with the way we duck underneath the water. I didn't actually notice that at the time of building, but it looks like it's manageable. There's a bit of a bunny hop coming out from under the water though, which I might change at some point. That's just a case of rebuilding the track. I don't know actually, that looks alright, and the metro train looked okay as well, so maybe it's not a problem. Got another 10 people here. So again, now we're starting to make money. Are we in profit yet? Not quite. Just a little bit shy of it. This stop here should put us closer. Or maybe not. Oh, there you go. Yes, we've just about broken even. And starting to head into the green zone. So now we're starting to reap the rewards. But we are starting to reach the end of the trunk line, so this could dip down again. In terms of vehicle condition, we're at about 3/4, so that's okay. That's not too bad. So yeah, that's the only thing the other thing I was worried about really was vehicle condition. These trains are probably going to only do 1 lap of the line, but again, that's fine. The loop is there in case they can do more than 1 lap. If they can only do 1, then not a problem at all. Just keep that little spurt line in just in case they can do more than 1. And it means they're getting dropped off and picked up by the same train. So, or at the same stop I should say, not the same train. So there's not much walking involved between changing trains at that station. Right, no one waiting here, which I'm a little bit surprised at actually. All of our passengers have got off, but hardly any of them... maybe it's not fully connected yet. People aren't really sussing that it's there. But that is the last stop before we head under the water again. Now this is probably the longest section between stations. This is probably even longer than the elevated section. And I could have put other stations in. I could have put one here, for example. And I could have even put one just on the other side of the water. And I'm still not really sure why I didn't do that. If I decide to build a second line through here, which was the plan, to head east, sorry not east, west on the metro at that junction. If I do that, then I might actually add another station on this section and just build a little balloon loop like I have done for all the other stations, and have this as like an express train that goes straight through, and have the other trains actually stop. I could probably do that, just so I haven't got to rebuild this line from scratch, because I hate marking out stops, especially now in this city, because it is a real jungle. There's stops everywhere, and it becomes very, very difficult at times. It's worse when you're building stops, admittedly, but even mapping them out, it can be a bit of a pain. Right, 22 passengers here, that's not bad at all. That is a pretty good number. I'm just going to speed this up to maximum speed now, because my throat is starting to hurt. I'm actually recording this episode straight after Monday's episode, so my throat is killing me, because I've been talking for about an hour and a half solid now. So yeah, you'll have to give me a second as well, guys. I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. Oh, that's better. Just something to soothe the throat a little bit. That's a lot better. Right. So we technically reached the end of the line. Although, really, we got one more stop. It's where you want to call it. About here is the halfway stage, and the vehicle condition is 64%. So that tells me that we're definitely going to make it back to the depot before the vehicle breaks down. The only thing I'm hoping now is that it doesn't try and do a second lap. But surely it'll be smart enough to realise it's not going to make it very far before it breaks down. Right, picking up more passengers, which is a good sign, I suppose. Are we still breaking even, or are we back in the red? We're only just breaking even. Bit worried about that. Not too worried at this stage, because like I said, still inaugural run. But I am still hoping it picks up slightly. We haven't passed another train yet. That should happen shortly. We can see how they're doing. That's one advantage of being the first train, is when you pass in the opposite direction to all the other trains, you can have a little look and see how they're getting on, and if they're popular, and how busy they are. One of the knee-jerk reactions I end up making is actually selling the big vehicles and buying smaller vehicles, or vice versa. And then it turns out that that was actually the worst thing you could have done, because then it's like restarting the line again. So you end up buying small vehicles and they're all crammed full. So then you buy bigger vehicles and they get crammed full for the first run, and then they're empty for the rest of it. And it really does get quite confusing. Right, how are we doing here? Just coming back up to the Metro Hub stop. Just start naming these stations. There's so many to rename though. It's impossible. I might rename the major stations though, so I can actually call them by something rather than just Metro Hub, Tram Square. Actually giving them a name. The MCH I might keep as the MCH though, because that's quite cool. It's abbreviated. It abbreviates nicely. What's that? 2 people waiting. That's not encouraging. Especially as the other 2 got off. That's not that encouraging at all. Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to keep a straight head. Like I said, don't panic, don't jump to conclusions, certainly don't jump the gun. Just going to give it a little bit longer just to see if this develops. I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought we'd be doing better than this. We are still in profit though. So as long as we're still in profit, I'm not that bothered about how many people are on board. If we're starting to lose money, then I'll have to make changes. But right now, we seem to be doing okay. Hardly anybody waiting here. We're up to 4 overall. Maybe I will end up getting smaller trains. I've no idea which ones, but that could be a good solution. It really does depend. Again, first run. But I am looking at the stations going in the opposite direction as well. And even they're not incredibly crowded. It might even be a case of people don't go to the stations because of how difficult they are to actually get to. That stop especially because it's underneath the park and underneath the water. This one might be a bit different because I think there's buildings nearby. But yeah, that could definitely be one of the issues involved. Let me just see. Anybody waiting here? 4 waiting to go north. We've now got 13 heading south. Still got people getting on board, I suppose. I'll give it a couple of runs, and if it's not brilliant, then yeah, smaller trains. But I'll let you guys know in Friday's episode what I end up doing there. Tram condition is still above 50%, which is good to see. How many people waiting here to go south? 13. And again, they're all unhappy because they're waiting for a while, and that's a contributing factor as well. You don't want them to be waiting too long, because unhappiness means they won't use your services. You don't want a line with a bad reputation, because that is bad. Right, what about this stop? Connecting with the metro, the other metro interchange. 20 people waiting here. I'm sure all 15 of these guys will get off. How have we gone down one? Did someone give up? 20 people were waiting and only 19 got on board. Yes, I think someone gave up. Okay, fair enough. They want to give up, that's their prerogative, not ours. Now here is an issue, actually, going from the metro to the tram. The pathway that heads off in the bottom right there, I believe, does actually go up to the crossroad. I believe. People are walking from the City Auto network up to here, so that's positive. Means that little interchange is working. There's another tram and it's got nobody on board. Okay, that's not... Oh, actually no, this is the connection between the two interchanges, so yeah, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over that. Now that'd be stupid losing sleep over that, because I'm sure it's fine really. Anchor Avenue. Just headed under. Now we're heading under the water again. Still looking good, looking okay. Condition is good. Capacity, still not happy with, but I can't keep going on about that because it will just get boring. See how many are waiting here. And then once we get into the designated stations again, the numbers might start picking up. It just means this game's starting to lag a bit. There might be a pedestrian problem that I'm going to have to take care of as well, but I'll do that off camera. That's when the pedestrians clump up and cause the game to start having frame rate issues. Anybody waiting here? We're in double figures, not bad. Tram condition is deteriorating and that could put people off as well. So everybody that was on board the tram has now disembarked and everyone that was waiting is now on board. There are less passengers waiting to head east, but they could have all just given up. It was 200 and something just now. In fact, I am a little bit worried about where those trams are. There. They are still running. Good, good. How many people do we have waiting at this next stop? 3. Tram condition is deteriorating and that could put people off as well. So everybody that was on board the tram has now disembarked and everyone that was waiting is now on board. There are less passengers waiting to head east, but they could have all just given up. It was 200 and something just now. In fact, I am a little bit worried about where those trams are. There. They are still running. Good, good. How many people do we have waiting at this next stop? 3. Downgrade to Prospector Royal M's and then take them off the maroon line and put a different type of vehicle on that line. Even that will work. So there's no point in me getting too worked up about it just yet. This line will be successful in one way or another. I will make sure of that. Otherwise, I've just wasted my time and I've wasted your time and wasted everybody's time, and I don't really want to do that. So we'll find a way of solving this problem. Not an issue at all. Right, onto the elevated section. Come out from underground. People's eyes are probably going to start burning at this point because they weren't expecting to come out of a tunnel. And so close to the freeway as well. So there'll be a roaring car noise, so they're going to be deaf and blind. Although I'd like to think we'd have double glazed windows or some kind of soundproofing. I'm probably over-evaluating the quality of trains now. London Underground. The old trains, not so much on the new trains, but the old trains on the District, Circle, Metropolitan and Hammersmith and City. Oh god, they rattled. You could stand up on them, which was fine. You actually had headroom, and you didn't bang your head on the door frame every time you left the train. but my god was the noise loud, and the screeching of the wheels going around some of the corners, and oh, it was terrible. And there was hardly any soundproofing, and it actually got quite cold on some of those trains because they're not deep tube like some you know, the Piccadilly line or the Northern line or anything like that. So when you think about warm air rushing through the tunnels, that only really works in deep tube lines. When you're just below the ground, it's more cold than anything. So it wasn't a very pleasant place to be. There was a constant draft from all the train movements, and it wasn't very nice. New trains though have made a big difference, and it's definitely a nicer place to be. There's less rattling. There is still screeching wheels, but you do kind of expect that, metal on metal. But there's less rattling in general. The trains are warmer. They're all the way through. There's no gaps between carriages, so you can walk from one carriage to the other without having to open any doors or anything. So that's fantastic. You can see one end of the train from the other. So it's big and airy. Again, they're still tall, so you can stand up without banging your head. They feel like the walls feel thicker, so it's not as cold anymore. And it just gives that modern feel, just being in something a bit more modern. The stations are still archaic, and there's still a breeze, but you step onto a nice brand new train, and it just sort of makes you forget about all that, really. So I kind of hope that most of my systems are like that. Especially as the City Shuttle, the M-Link Shuttle, uses the same style of trains as the District, Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan have just had delivered. So hopefully that does fix that problem. I'm going to start wrapping this episode up here now, I think, guys, because this lag is starting to get on my nerves, so I definitely have to go and find out what that problem is. You just got to look for where there's loads of vehicles bunched up. In fact, I don't think there are any. No, Tram Square seems to have sorted itself out now. Aha! There's something not quite right over here. Oh. Yep, here it is. There you go. So it's this, the autumn line. That might be why the autumn line was complaining at me when I first came onto the game earlier. Right, so these people should hopefully start sorting themselves out. I'm going to reset the Rosewood line as well, just to make sure that that one is not going to cause problems. These buses should be able to sort themselves out, and then these pedestrians will slowly find their way. I imagine most of them want to go metro or monorail, most likely metro. It always seems to be Hublink that ends up with hundreds of people waiting. Hublink or the trolley line, that's the other one. So let's watch these people disperse, and then you can watch as the frame rate slowly starts to get better again. I mean, this is bad. This is like 1 FPS at the moment. It's incredibly bad. Let's just see. You're all going down to that Hublink platform, aren't you? Yes, you are. Look at the numbers down here. 200. Have we hit 300? Yep. 400. 500? Yep. Easily hit 500. Here comes a train to take some of them away. It's a good thing I've got these big trains. They can carry, what, 232? Let's just see. You're all going down to that Hublink platform, aren't you? Yes, you are. Look at the numbers down here. 200. 300, yep. 400. 500. Yep. Easily hit 500. Here comes a train to take some of them away. It's a good thing I've got these big trains. They can carry, what, 232? Hublink 1 is definitely the problem solver. 176 people can get on this train before it starts to get crowded. So that's that entire platform's worth of people gone. 850 people waiting for this monorail train. That's not going to work. That is like 12 monorail trains before that disperses, and I don't think people are going to let 12 trains go through before they get fed up and walk away. So that's going to be a problem. But at least the frame rate's starting to improve. Things are starting to get a lot smoother. There are still huge clumps of people, and that does cause problem, but overall it is getting better, and that's the main thing. Right, I am going to start ending this episode here though, guys. We've had a good episode today, I feel. Good episodes so far this week, I would say, in fairness. We had a good time on Monday building the new Centurion line. Now we're currently fixing problems that have developed whilst we were building the Centurion line, as well as monitoring the Centurion line on its first run. I'm still a little bit disappointed about the number of people waiting. This is slightly better, and I'm sure this station up here will get better. Buckingham Palace would be a good place to check out, actually, down here. I think this is the first train again. So as this one is leaving, another one is arriving to pick them up. This will get better. If it doesn't work out quite like this, I'll throw in something else just to make it more popular, like another landmark or another line that connects. I might even shut down the city shuttle line, M-Link shuttle line, just so people take the tram instead. Buckingham Palace would be a good place to check out, actually, down here. I think this is the first train again. So as this one is leaving, another one is arriving to pick them up. This I actually do for Friday's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, be sure to click the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to my channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will see you soon.